I'm Stacia Turner. I don't know. I don't care about any title things, I guess, but I do work as a community organizer, environmental justice strategist, activist. Um, and I would say the reason why I sort of am in solidarity with the Queer Liberation March is because I think so much of queer liberation as a social movement is really based in Black femme rage about sort of not being free in expression of lifestyle, of movement, of gender fluidity, of the kinds of relationships we can have, and the kinds of work that we can do, and the kinds of art that we can perform. And right now in my heart, I definitely can say that I'm full of Black femme rage. I have albinism. I'm a Black, queer, gender non-binary person, and also identify as a Black woman. And I've shifted through a lot of waves of rage about the state of where our society is right now, but I'm also sort of uplifted by the newness in how things feel, with people getting increasingly radicalized about what liberation means to them and what liberation means collectively. Those are some of the things I've been thinking about in terms of why I care about, this march.
Hi there, I'm André Stith. I'm the Artistic Director of Love City Arts, where we encourage, equip, and empower people, starting with creatives. I'm marching because I believe that we are worthy of belonging. And I think there's been a lot of our culture and a lot of our history that would dictate that we don't belong, or that we don't have place as Black, Indigenous people of color, and as queer citizens. And I am personally tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, as the late great Fannie Lou Hamer said. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired of being pushed to the margins of even our own LGBTQIA communities. We are saying that when we are all centered in our collective experience, then we'll be free. Someone else put it a different way. They said, when Black people are free, then we'll all be free. And the great thing about Black people, the wonderful thing about Black people, and the reason why I'm talking about Black people is because we are a Black-led organization. Here I am, so we can't not talk about it, right? It's safe. It's okay. It's okay. But we as a Black people must be centered in our own narratives, in the narratives of our beautiful lives, and then we're asking allies, queer and beyond, to join us together, putting your petty boots aside. This ain't Drag Race, boo-boo. This ain't Drag Race. This is real life. This is real life. And so, how are we really going to show up for each other and ourselves? That's why I'm here. I'm marching arm in arm with white sisters and brothers, Black sisters and brothers, with queer sisters and brothers, all of the list, all 58 of the ways in which they say we can show up and present in the world. I'm here to lock arms and to say we shall overcome. I was about to actually, Stacia, I was about to actually talk about Adrienne Maree Brown, and how she says that when you trust the people trust you. And so what I'm trying to do as a community social justice leader in the arts is trust my people. And a lot of people are wandering around the world right now wondering, what can I do? How can I plug in? Like, is there a space for me? Yes, there's a space for you at Love City Arts. We want everybody and everyone to come into the city, and we want people to feel empowered. Now, an empowered people are going to change the world. That's what I feel. I feel that a genuinely and authentically empowered people are going to change the world. People that are sitting around of all colors and backgrounds going, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stand up. I can't go out to the march. Like, I'm not going to be out at the march. I'm in solidarity with y'all. Well, I'm not going to be out there because Black people are mistreated in the healthcare system. So y'all ain't gonna play Russian roulette with my life. But I am going to stand here, bring people into the city and say, let's get to work. Do I feel like things are changing? Only if we trust each other enough to actually move things forward. I'm done talking about black Jesus and white Jesus. I'm done talking about Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. I'm done with all of that. I want us to go deeper in our humanity and then start showing up and loving and supporting each other. When we do that, then we'll have a yes. Today, so we got work to do, right? That's the good news. That's the good news. Stacia?
For me, it's like a matter of scale. So on the community scale, things are absolutely changing because things are changing inside of me. So like I know what I have control over, and that's pretty much basically myself. But I think that we're all fractaled systems, again, stealing from Adrienne Maree Brown, an emergent strategy. But like I feel the shifts happening in myself about how I think about what liberation and democracy looks like in my interpersonal relationships, and then scaling that out to my professional relationships, my personal relationships, and just thinking about like, what does equity look like? What does justice look like, right? And how do I negotiate that? A thing I think we forget talking about because we get so caught up in the fragmentation and wedge issues of this versus that, that we miss the conversation about the fact that like justice, from my perspective, is something that has to always be negotiated. We can't get caught up in like these rigid structures of like what's good and what's bad, because everything is context specific to a certain extent. And so what that means for me is that like I'm as responsible as any other person, regardless of the context of my marginality versus someone else. I'm always accountable to trying to negotiate like what are the power differentials and dynamics between me and every other relationship that I have. How do I pattern the justice I'm expecting to see in the larger collective through my interpersonal relationships, and how am I showing up for others when they can't? How am I teaching myself how to do that and what that looks like, and how do I increasingly scale that up? So in one sense, yes, things are absolutely changing because I'm changing. So everything that I touch community-wise to that scale is changing. The larger collective, I can't tell you. I truly can't. I feel like as a Black, queer, non-binary person in America, my relationship to America and to whiteness in the American context is an abusive relationship. And so I can't say, yes, it's changed. Yes, he's gonna be different this time after they've gone through therapy and feel guilty. I don't know. I can't say. And, you know, I think that like the cynical side of me wants to say that like, you know, we're often moved in a flash in the pan by something that's emotionally evocative, but nothing has really changed for Black people. Just the shape of how systems are used to oppress us have changed. While in another scale, they have changed in social context. So I think it's a both and, that things are changing, but I'm also skeptical about them at the collective scale. What I do know is that, going back to how I've changed and what I am positive about, is that I'm getting increasingly more empowered in terms of affirming what I will and won't take, in terms of how I affirm the ways I should be treated, especially by people who perform their whiteness in a certain kind of way. And so that's changing the way I feel empowered to lean into articulating like what I will and won't accept, and not fearing that, because if I realize that regardless of how nice and what kind of soft shoe I might do, I'm still a Black person, then why should I be like tamping down my own voice and perspective at my own detriment? And just one last thing I'll say in terms of how this relates to the environmental justice movement and the environment is that I think environmental justice is always at the crux of social movements, because our environment, right? Either in talking about the natural spaces or the environment, like in a metaphysical sense, like the spaces that we create, always have a certain texture of our social political context, right? So if I'm Black, it's more likely that I live in the hood or in a rural context in a low wealth situation. And so I think people are really learning because of the pandemic and the state of a lot of urban communities in America that are impacted by environmental harms and hazards, are really starting to get radicalized and taking more ownership for how we can sustain ourselves and how we can reclaim ownership of our communities and building the kinds of communities that we want to see, rather than just shaking our fists at like why the state is going to continue to oppress us. So that feels inspiring to me, and that's what I spend a lot of my professional time organizing and strategizing around, if that makes sense.
That question. Give me a second with that question. Just give me a second with that question. Stacia. I know what that question is, and I hate that question. You're asking me what I would like to be asked? That's what you're asking me. You're asking me what I want to be asked. Why are you asking me that? I have a hard time with that question because we've asked them all already. You know right from wrong. I have a hard time with that question, and I'm sure Stacia will do a better job, but I have a hard time with the circular conversation that is actually taking away from the work. If I have to pull over to the side of the road and formulate questions and answers to you and break down the reason why Black people should not be dying, you're playing games with me. And Marsha P. Johnson, my queer and Black ancestor, the one who did the work, would be appalled that our community still wants to pull over to the side of the road and talk about what questions we should be asking. When we get out of our, yeah, it's very good, nice question. Oh, I love the way that question was formulated. Yes, it packaged it nicely so everyone can understand. When we get beyond formality and start moving towards freedom, we gonna be working with some good stuff. We're stuck in the question when what you need to be given is an answer. I run a Won't You Be My Neighbor group, a reconciliation and restorative justice group for Black and white people to come into the gym and get their feelings out and then get to the work. We're providing those spaces for those questions, but it's, oh my gosh, it's a pressure point and a pain point for me to be asked what question I should be asking. We know what the problem is, and everyone claims to be smart enough to solve it. There's a lot of queer people, white queer people, who are pretending like we're the same. Very dangerous comfort. Very dangerous comfort because we're not dying at the same rate. And your quality of healthcare is exponentially better than mine right now. Stacia, I'm done.
Thank you for that sermon.
All right, I'm sorry. It's one of those things where I'm like, the first thing that we're going to need to stop doing in this fight against all the isms and obias is start telling the truth to each other.
Truth telling is a part of the Black tradition.
It is iconically and authentically Black. Sit your ass down. Like Black people don't play. That's a new thing that I recognize, that I realized through some of my teachings and lectures that I've been listening to, and social justice workers that I've been following. It's the concept of play is very white people. We've never been afforded the capacity of play. So when we say that Black people don't play, That's part of the truth-telling tradition. The question is, why do y'all keep asking black folks to play? Stacia, please, Stacia, take the mic, please.
All right. So the question is, what are we not being asked? What I'm not being asked, Blake, what I feel like people aren't asking me is like, what do I need to thrive? That's what I want white people to ask me, is like, what do I need to thrive? How can I get you that? What are your dreams? What are your visions? What are your fantasies? And how can I help you get there? That's what I feel like I'm not being asked. And I don't know if you're looking for some performative sort of political response that I don't have to give, but in the words of Patricia Hill Collins and so many other Black feminists, the personal is political. And what I want to know is like how I can live, and how people can ask me how I can do that better, right? Like I have so many dreams and visions for my world, for my community, and I think we get so caught up in this sort of political volley that we miss the humanity of the fact that like Black Lives Matter in the context of I want to be able to believe in a future for myself and for my community that is safe, right? I want to be able to like go to the doctor and not have fear. I want to be able to go out in the world and not have fear, right? I want to be able to have a relationship that isn't ostracized by my community, my family, my workplace. Like I want to be asked about how I can thrive, you know? Like I've been fantasizing so much about just being in a cabin and having a sabbatical, right? Just like being able to write and make art. And that seems so far removed from my life, right? Because I'm always fighting, and I don't do it begrudgingly because it's a tradition of so many like Black women before me to sort of uplift ourselves and our community. But also I want to just like play with my friends, and I want to dance, and I want to have cookouts, and I want to like paint and make art and make love and like not have to constantly worry. And I just want people to strategize how I can get there. Like that's what I want people to ask me. Every time a white person asks me like what they should be doing, what they can be doing in the sense of a like political support, it's again about them, right? It's like about you feeling good about yourself, and like how can I make myself feel better about this thing that is whiteness and white supremacy? Like help me, mammy me into figuring out how I can be a better white. And I'm not performing for that line of reasoning anymore. Unless you're asking me about how you can support me monetarily, resource-wise, in your skill sharing. Like if you can't give me something, I don't want you to ask me shit, because I'm already doing too much labor as it is. Like that's what I want people to ask me, truly.
The prompt that I've been leaving on the doorstep of people, if you want access to me and my inner circle, lead with, today I'm liberating Black people by, and then start talking. That's the only way that I'm entertaining any conversations with anybody going forward. All of my conversations will be dedicated to Black liberation as an extension of liberating everybody who is oppressed and suppressed. Fill in the blanks, queer brothers and sisters. Fill in the blanks. Today, I'm liberating Black people by. If you can fill that in and stand in your power in that, if you can stand in your power, unified. Today, I am liberating Black people by. We will be free. And I don't understand why we can't get that. That's how it goes. The question is, when will you start to see us? The question is, when will you start to see us? On your videos, in your newspaper, in your magazines, on your social media? When will you stop posturing and just stand up and put your bodies on the line like Marsha did for you? When will you stand between me and the cops? Because black people are just trying to breathe and live and walk on their blocks. Stacia, shut me up.
No, I mean, I'm here for it. I will co-sign in a minute, and I am. But yeah, I always feel a weird feeling about Pride just because it's like everyone, it's sort of the best parallel I can think of in my mind is like, in high school, your senior year, when everyone like right when you're going towards graduation, then everyone wants to be best friends and you want to act like, oh, you didn't like look at me sideways or talk shit about me or make fun of me and tease me because now we're all evolved and we're graduating and we know we'll never see each other and everyone's best friend. Like Pride to me feels like that in terms of the queer community, where everyone's just like so gay, this and that. And like honestly, I almost don't ever go out now, and I love to dance. I love techno and house music, and I won't get on a soapbox about this, but like I literally almost get in fisticuffs every time I go out with white cis gay males. And it's like a real problem in my life when I'm just trying to live my best life in a music and art form that was created by Black queer people. And because I'm not the object of desire, it's like I feel cool to white male gaze when they're using me as an object in some way, like either like there's some kind of attraction to me, or we're like kikiing because you want to like steal Black culture and like I'm cute for the moment. But then in these other spaces where I don't have a particular like reason as an object, then you want to sit on me or you want to push me out of the space. And so like when it's Pride Month, I always just like feel this weird kind of like, it's obviously Pride has been commodified and divorced from sort of where it started in the like Black femme tradition, queer tradition of rage and liberation through like rage and physical action and protest. And it's like about like having like white gay male parties. And that is like, it's really too bad. And we have to like reclaim that and remember that like outside of the march and Pride Month or whatever, I truly want all white queer people to be asking themselves about what their relationship is to other like queer people of color. Like, what is your relationship in terms of like your interpersonal relationships? Because I think we can really get caught up in like wearing our politics on our sleeves, and that removes us from like, but what are we actually doing in our day-to-day relationships, which I think is where real liberation starts. We all can say we're for the cause and repost and retweet whatever is the important thing at the moment, but like only you know how you behave to people who you have a power differential against in your lived reality. And that's what I want people to think about outside of just this fucking march, because Black queer people are gonna stay marching literally, metaphorically. We live that life because that's how we survive, right? Is resistance. But that's what I want the white gaze to be meditating on personally. Like that's very important to me.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have this conversation without talking about the segregation and division in the queer community. Not anymore. It's a very segregated space. Black and brown people rarely feel safe in the spaces that majority white people occupy. And so, yeah, I could say that with clarity. That whenever we're in a majority white space, we're not safe. And that's not helped by how segregated the community is, and then also how stratified the community is with your economics. And like everybody can't party on the pier, and there's a reason why it's built that way. And that reason is supremacy.
And also gendered, right? Like this is the thing I think about a lot because, you know, if we want to get to back to like Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, like a part of their queer liberation was gender queerness as liberation. And I feel like in the queer community, there's a lot of gender policing, even though like being non-binary is like becoming more visible in a like performative sense. I think that like a lot of queer spaces, from my experience, are very particular to sort of like who you trying to fuck, right? It's like, are you like, if you're not sort of like articulating your gender and who you want to have sex with in this particular way of queerness, then the spaces aren't open and fluid, which is sort of like just, even aside from like being not like non-binary gender expression, that's like counterintuitive to the whole notion of queerness, right? Which is that like people should be free to be fluid, to change what they want, how they present in their gender, in their sexual expression, in their sexual orientation. They should just be able to be a human, which is changing, right? Like, which has the ability to change or to not change, to articulate themselves or to not, and to be free to sort of like do that in whatever context is what this sort of like queer liberatory spirit was pushing against. And I think we forget that now because like there's seemingly so much visibility about like a queer spectrum and fluidity. But like when I'm in queer spaces, there's like clear demarcations of like, this is a dyke bar, this is the sort of white leather daddy bar. Like there's all these things, and like people say they're like inclusive spaces, but then you go there and you feel the vibe of like, I don't belong here. And what does that mean is like, are people welcoming you regardless of whether they're trying to fuck you or not? And that's another conversation that truly needs to be had in the queer community, like in general. Because I don't fit into any of those places. Like, I just don't. Like,
we can reclaim pride year round. If we can actualize and normalize reclaiming pride over each other and for each other, loving and supporting, if we can do that every day, not just one day of the year, we'll be free. We'll be free. That's how I feel about it. Why do we silo the love? Why do we compartmentalize a celebration of being alive? And then why don't we value the lives of everybody? That's the work of my life for like the next 36 years. That's a full plate. That's a full plate. I don't need to commit to anything else. I don't need to commit to anything else. I don't need to do anything else. There's no more degrees to seek. There ain't no more jobs to chase. It's all about liberating Black people. And when that happens, what a day of rejoicing that will be. That's what they say in the Black folk church tradition. And I don't want to wait, Stacia, to get to heaven. See, that whole passage is about when we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. I can't wait. I can't wait. I need it now. We demand it so. We demand it so. We demand people of good morals and good character to stand up. We demand it. We demand it. We demand that good people stand up and light a fire under those who seek to kill us. We demand it. We're not asking anymore. There's a guy who has a video that's going viral right now, where he talks about how Black people to the mainstream world are only good for entertainment and fucking. And I thought that hit so hard because there's so many people, that's what we're only good for, entertainment and fucking. And I think about all of that in the context of my career, and the safety or lack thereof I felt in spaces where it was okay for me to bring all of who I was on under the lights. But when I then walked off the stage as a Black queer person, that's when things got really dicey. And the affirmation fell away, and the support fell away too. It's all fun and games until you ain't invited to the cookout no more. And let me tell you something, we are building on record. Love City Arts is building a bigger and brighter and more loving cookout. What I want to know is your ass coming or not? My life matters. My life matters. Every day my life matters. Every day. My mother will be very sad if I hang from a tree or get killed by the cops. My mother, who loves me the way your mother loves you. Same feeling. Black people feel just like you do. Black people feel just like you. We weep like you. We feel pain like you. This myth that somehow we are so strong that we don't feel. We are strong. And we still feel. We feel pain just like you. And we mourn. We cry in the shower for strangers in our communal family. That's the love of Black people. That is the love of Black people. That I cry in my shower for George as if he were my own. Who the fuck are you crying for? Who the fuck are you crying for? I see no tears. While we as a collective community are in showers, in tears of people we don't even know, because that is the profundity of our love. Don't you dare call me evil. Mm-hmm. Bell Hooks teaches us, and if you don't know who Bell Hooks is, look her up. Bell Hooks teaches us that our protests and our resistance, which is what you've experienced just now, you've experienced to the face Black resistance. That was not, you didn't bleed, we didn't break skin, I didn't fight you, you lived through it. This is Black resistance. And Bell Hooks teaches me that is love. So you heard a brother yelling in here today, but you know what? It's anchored. It's anchored in a love of Stacia, all Black people, and then your ass. But guess what? You're still in the number. You're still in the, this is love. I do not understand why they do not see it as such. I'm trying to figure out how we let the people that want to go, and let the people that want to stay. And the reason why I'm yelling the way I am while I stay is because I love who's here. When people just go, I'm like, oh, just go. I don't care. Like, I don't raise my voice. I don't look for them. Trust me, there's somebody next in the rotation, baby. But I'm yelling in here because I love you so much, Blake, to not let you go unserved about what the work actually is. Spread it far and wide. Please, like, solidarity looks like my Black friends are saying this. Let me stand here and let them say it. And then look your white compatriots in the face and say, don't challenge my Black friend. They said what they fucking said.